DarkZero has the first and final ban. Oxygen has the 2 center bans.
Well, ladies and gents, the ban phase is going on, but that doesn't mean that we need the energy to stop. Let's please remind ourselves. This is indeed a LAN, folks. Let's get some pogs rolling in the chat. Everybody get those cat jams going. This is what we're here for. Oxygen versus DarkZero for our last series of the day. We're starting things out on Cafe. Maverick and Thatcher both off the board. We're looking so defensive right now, John.
Yeah, definitely the case is you've got those classic bans coming out. That combo will more than likely make a reappearance on the 3rd map as well. So keep your eyes on that when we get ourselves over towards Clubhouse. No surprise here with Wamai. Just on the pixel setup alone, he brings a lot of credibility to his use on this map. So it makes absolute sense to ban him out just because it can allow players to be entirely independent, which is not something you really want to have happen. So he'll get knocked out here. Also, of course, with how well he counterplays into Jaeger up until that patch, of course. And then Valkyrie, our final ban. She's been a very common one today, definitely becoming a favorite defender ban over the past couple weeks.
Well, Maya and Valkyrie got banned out, I believe, every single map our previous one. Yes,
Yep.
well, my Valk. Yeah, so Oregon and Theme in our previous series between Oxygen and TSM banned out both times. So this is, well, going to be the 3rd time here between you and I that we see that removed. And that changes up a lot of things, especially with Valkyrie off the board. There is so many players inside of North America that love this character simply because she has not only so much intel that you can benefit off of, but also that nitro cell that packs a potent punch. So with her off the field, they don't necessarily need to run an IQ or anything or really worry about that, maximum potential inside of the defensive intel department.
The picks have come in, the 6 picks as well. I've also flushed through here. We're actually going to go to a kitchen defense first. As first floor is the site choice of start here for DarkZero to get themselves started out on the right foot, hopefully. Traditionally, over the past couple of weeks, we've been seeing teams play this usually in a horizontal fashion, meaning that there is a minimum roam game up on the 3rd and 2nd floor, if there is any at all at this point. A lot of the defense, though, going to be focused on defending that red carpet hallway, the whiskey bar outside of it, as well as the VIP area over by the little Christmas tree that you'll see on the right side of your screen there, too. Because if they can control that, yes, the attackers may be able to get control of the site, but the defenders will be able to kill a lot of people on the way in and more than likely already be set up to retake just as the attackers are starting to get control themselves. So it often works very, very strongly for the defenders to play just outside the site.
Cafe looking a lot like Christmas, which really makes me wish that we could just skip Thanksgiving anyways.
It's that time of year,
hey, everyone right after Halloween ends just start singing Christmas carols. No one cares about the turkey, let's be honest. But to delve even deeper into Cafe, yeah, exactly what you're saying. They have to make sure that no one can really work their way into that VIP section on the backside. That's a very pivotal point for them. But DarkZero is going about this in a completely different fashion. They've got a top hold here going on with Hyper on more of a solo roam for the time being, but OXG seem to want to lock things down. They've dedicated a pick towards the gridlock, and that's going to be in play of, well, actually really nothing. Nomad's still out on the board. This is something that we really only see come out when Nomad's not available. But obviously Cafe playing a lot different than other maps makes gridlock more potent. We talked about earlier in the day how, Foxay now getting into an engagement with Hyper. Possible kill here. He actually ends up getting it. So Foxay downs him. Hyper off the board. That's a huge frag here for OXG, but it's immediately traded back by Mints. Either way, though, gridlock a lot more potent on Cafe simply because of those staircases where those track stingers can, well, really work around each other and you can't get a nice impact grenade onto them.
Foxay there having to commit pretty deep to get that chased kill down on the Hyper, so unfortunately he's left in a pretty exposed position after finding that, and it's not too much trouble for another player on DZ to trade that back out, putting us back down into a 4v4. DarkZero, I was talking about this whole horizontal strategy before, but DarkZero, just to clarify, they are not playing into that, in case you haven't been able to see that for yourself now. This is a much different game plan here for them, but it's working out really well right now because most of Oxygen is still stuck way upstairs on the 3rd floor. I haven't even really been able to fathom going down just as of yet because these 2nd floor roamers are causing such a massive issue for anyone on Oxygen to try and start moving downstairs. Even the defenders themselves, those roamers, are starting to move down because they believe that Oxygen might have pulled back and is starting to just look for a direct reinsertion into the floor where the site is.
And this is what you have to love about DarkZero's play style, is everything's so well thought out. They're handling things in a very different fashion than anybody else does, so it's going to be difficult for Oxygen to look further and try and guesstimate what's going on with this DarkZero setup. I mean, already at, worse for wear on the drone economy and not really able to find too much else besides the pick onto Hyper. DarkZero just transitions back downstairs after they waste so much time. I mean, there's not even any verticality done inside of the site. This is going to be the first couple of sledgehammers going off now, but this is a really good spot for DarkZero. Got some good intel now, though, on the Hotton currently inside of sight. This is somebody that we're looking to step up inside of this series, but it seems as though Oxygen want to go for the drop now. Slash drops in, and he does indeed have case control, but he's burnt by Hotton with a nice double kill through the wall as well. Mint tacks on, and all of a sudden it's Laxing left to rust upstairs, but he's still going to get a frag, but more of a participation trophy inside of round one. DarkZero all the way.
Nice hold from DarkZero. As you said, they're very smart about mainly their positioning within that round, putting a lot of pressure on the initial pinch for the top floor down in the early round, and slowly but surely reeling it back in closer to the site as the timer got lower, allowing for them to control the eventual execute down the hatch with relatively minimal losses there overall throughout the course of the round. I think the only real considerable loss is the kill that Foxy was able to chase down there in the middle.
Yeah, and that, again, didn't have too much of a change.
Yeah.
Mostly because DarkZero was able to refrag it. They played that mid-floor in a very unorthodox way. And again, unorthodox does not mean that it's necessarily a bad thing. So instead, they set up for a white stairs hold, which seems to be that the mute sits inside of VIP till they can differentiate what the offense is going to do, right? They want to know if they're going to go for a bakery take or if they're going to do the full top clear. Well, if it's the full top clear, then they adjust to hold on white stairs and dining. Have Hyper try and get a pick upstairs. If he can't get anything, he hops into pillars and plays the reading room with them. He's the only one that really has to worry about verticality. You don't have verticality above dining, and you can mostly shut everything down from white stairs. Where else are they going to pressure you from? I mean, if somebody tries to go in and swing inside of your red 90, Hyper can handle that situation. So that's an amazing setup there from DarkZero, and something that honestly I really wish to see more of.
All right, well, let's see if we'll get just exactly that. It is going to be a second floor defense here now from DarkZero. So third floor roam game is absolutely going to be a pivotal piece of the puzzle here now for DZ, and how they handle that will also be pretty pivotal to their success or failure in the course of this round. Away from that, though, Oxygen are out. We're going to see their players move up to the roof and start to open up the hatches pretty quickly so that they can begin the process of clearing out this third floor hold. Unfortunately, if they go the normal path, I don't think they're going to find any easy route in here, mainly because we've got the clash being brought into the factor by Mitt. He's hiding it right now in the cigar closet, but as soon as he makes it known, there's going to be some real problems here for Oxygen.
Yeah, and those problems are not going to be few and far between either. Eclipse is also stacked inside of Christmas along with that clash, and they have the Jaeger in tow as well. Hyper playing inside of the bar area, so Oxygen has a lot to worry about. But the main issue is they really can't get a crossfire established or really any pressure onto Hyper's position simply because they either need pillar control or to try and pressure it from a window. That skylight is not going to assist them. Eclipse continually getting rid of drones up here. This is such a nice setup from DarkZero once again. Like the clash dedication inside of Cigar as well. That's just going to make it to where they slow down OXG so much. Make sure you pay attention to the timer inside of this round.
Almost halfway gone already here, and OXG hasn't been able to really do anything at all. Just now starting to move players into the building and clear that out. Mint will see that there's a bit of control lost over towards Cigar, so he does pull down that little safety hatch there that he has for himself. Moves closer to the site, just like the last round here. They're peeling it back. They're not taking unnecessary risks on a fight. They're only putting pressure on to the degree that they need to waste time for. Unfortunately, though, passive play will come back to haunt them when the first fight is finally pressed against them, as Eclipse will lose outright there to Slash, it seems. So he just takes a tiny bit of damage, and Oxygen will get the man advantage to build off of.
Well, strong beginnings from both of these squads, neck and neck right now, but Oxygen making quick work of this map control, putting the super shorty to work upstairs, breaking up the flooring here for Laxing, making sure no one's in dark spot. And it's a very good check there, good mental note, making sure that nothing happens to them, no nitro cells or possible bodies. So Oxygen checking all the boxes, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, but they still have to worry about these DarkZero members that exist inside of sight, and this is something that we've seen them have a ton of problems with inside of our previous maps. If these DarkZero members are allowed to exist and hold these crossfires, this is probably going to be a very dangerous execute for Oxygen.
30 seconds remaining here. Oxygen once again going to have to move in on a low time situation. They've been able to handle that before. Could have been a nice pick right there against Houghton, but not meant to be. Hyper as well, bailing Houghton out of a bad situation there by taking out Bio just as Hot and Cold was about to cross the gap. 14 seconds remain. They're still trying to hunt down Houghton. They haven't been able to do it. Heat kills the initial planter and now jumps on top of it, making sure no one's going to move in for a refrag. He's going to have to stay mobile here and ends up swinging wide to get yet another kill against Laxing. Takes out the player that's been hunting him down for so long as well. And Hyper will seal the deal with that final pick on the vertical. 2-0 lead now for DZ as they have two very strong defenses to start themselves off.
Houghton throws some glasses on and all of a sudden becomes Neo in the Matrix, just dodging every bullet being thrown at him, dipping, dodging, weaving, whatever's needed. And he's even getting the kill on the sledge, trying to hop right over the top rope and slam him. Doesn't happen though, and able to shut down everyone from Oxygen trying to force their way into sight, whether it be through vertical play or putting a case down. Great stuff from DarkZero so far, and they continue to innovate on these sites and be unpredictable, and that's really been the game plan for DarkZero so far. Again, I like what I'm seeing. This is all onto Oxygen to try and make some magic happen. These top floor takes have not been the best, and we really haven't seen the impact that we would like to see from Gridlock. There's really no rotations coming. DarkZero is playing a long game. They're not trying to go for the late rotations or anything like that. They want to be in your face early, extend that timer, force Oxygen to slow down, and then once they've bled them dry, yeah, sure, we'll give you some map control.
Yeah, pretty much. Very nice metaphor there for how exactly DarkZero are managing these situations. Not necessarily going to be able to do the same exact thing on this round, though. They can sort of, but it's to a much lesser extent, as they won't be able to retreat entire floors away from the attackers. It'll just be a couple rooms instead. But like I said, it can still work to a certain degree. They were flirting with that capability too, for certain, as they had the Warden 6-pick lined up for a moment. Ended up shying away from it though, in favor of the Mute currently sitting on Hyper. That still doesn't mean we aren't going to see any aggressive play, especially toward areas like Cigar, where it's very commonly played out by the defenders to try and stop the attackers from getting progress right there.
Well, Oxygen will have to stick to that top take, as you were saying. There's no really any other options. They'll have to walk inside of Christmas. DarkZero don't have many options to escape. This is more than likely going to be some pressure exerted through the mid-level. They need to try and get these Nitro cells to go off and get some picks, and that's exactly what they're set up for. Hyper, Mint, and Eclipse all have some artillery in their pocket, and Hyper switching things up as well, but that's expected from someone of his caliber and mechanical skill. He doesn't want that SMG-11. It is an amazing gun, and that's why we will see it in the hand of Skies, but for Hyper, he wants that 1.5 on the MP5, excuse me. Let's make something happen here, but instead it's Laxing. That's first to the trigger, takes down Houghton on what is a cheeky play, double punches the door and crawls under it inside of lobby.
Nicely done there for Laxing. A great lineup against Hot and Cold to be able to knock him out of the picture. First time in this matchup so far we've seen Oxygen able to get the advantage to build off of. Now again, needing to leverage it further, though. That's always the big question when it comes to these opening kills from an attacker's side. Eclipse definitely wants some revenge here, as he's playing around the pixel doorway as well as the soft breach that's made on the inside of the bathroom, but opening in the window here nearly misjudges it as well. It's a good thing the opponent on the side did not end up committing to the peak right there. Slash just trying to figure out where he's getting shot from in this situation as he goes down. Not out just yet, but a Nitro from Mint not only confirms the down, but gets another player on top of it. Nicely done from DarkZero. They're absolutely not out of this round just yet, as now they've got the man advantage built up in their favor. It's down to Fox, Laxing, and Bio to make the difference for OXG.
Well, I said they were going to have to make something happen off of these Nitro cells, but I didn't expect something like that so early on. They still have 2 Nitro cells as well they can use for any sort of situation. Mint roaming around downstairs. This is looking like a DarkZero round all over the board, but Oxygen still have plenty of time to try and battle back. They don't have case control right now, but it's well within their right to gather it. No drones really, all except for Laxing and Bio. They have the remaining ones, but it's going to be mostly face checking for Fox. They're trying to slow this down just a touch so they can figure out where these DarkZero members reside. But the issue is now there's mute chambers everywhere that Hyper's placed, and still with Nitro cells to go, they can stop a lot of this plant potential. OXG are in desperate need of a pick, but most of the damage going towards the blue side. DarkZero allowed to exist, but it's a nice trade between Mint and Skies as they take down each other. But it's actually Mint staying alive. Hyper with one as well. All of a sudden, Laxing, the last remaining member of the squad, squad and the only one with some frags in his pocket as he's trying to battle back and forth off of 2 angles. Still has one on his mirror window, but Case is inside a freezer. He's got no time left. He gets swung from Pixel, and Eclipse puts him in the dirt. 6 feet under. DarkZero claim round 3.
And that 1.5 times sight has unlocked some gunning potential on quite a few guns. We saw right there from the mute being played by Hyper. He was just deleting people. We only got to see one of them on the camera, but I think he killed at least 3 over the course of that round. Really well played by him from the mute to make a massive impact there and continue to putting his team on the front foot forward, as now they lead 3-0 over OXG right now.
This is very, very sad for Oxygen right now, and it's honestly, you know, not even really their fault. DarkZero are just playing very unorthodox, and it's working very, very well. I mean, all except for really that last round. That truly was just, you know, botched for Oxygen as they tried to get that pickup inside of Cigar Shop. Just way too many nitro cells at the defense's disposal, and they didn't account for that and end up losing 2 men instead of just 1. So for Oxygen, rough start here so far for them, but they can obviously bounce back. Did my internet just go out? Hello?
No, I am still here with you. We have lost our...
Okay.
All right, guys. So it looks like we've got video back. Woo! There it is. We are back in game, finally ready to rock and roll once again. Unfortunately, OXG may not be of the same enthusiasm, as they have a lot to build back from and not a whole lot of excess rounds to do it. We're going to see, oh, that's an interesting 6-pick. OXG continuing to surprise us today with their picks, as Twitch is going to get brought in for laxing here.
That's a very interesting one, as well as a couple, you know, different things to unpack here. This is an operator that's been getting a lot of talk recently inside of Rainbow Six because she's about to get some stun grenades in an upcoming patch, but that's not what we need to talk about here. This pickup here from Oxygen is trying to counter out these mirror windows as well as get rid of this utility from the defense. They want to try and get rid of as much of it as possible, simply because they keep having these early picks happen. If they can go up and zap an ADS or zap a mute jammer, that changes up everything on how Oxygen has to handle, you know, these defensive setups. It might seem very simplistic. I'm getting rid of one piece of utility and then somebody probably shoots the Twitch drone. I don't understand why that can change things. That's 2 pieces of utility, or, you know, more or less, that you get to keep in your pocket and use to actually get you frags or to keep that plant going down.
All right, guys, and now that we are back in game, we do want to thank you, of course, for your patience bearing with us during that technical issue a couple of rounds back. It has been resolved now, as you can quite obviously see for yourself, and hopefully we won't be having that issue again. Let's enjoy the match now, as DarkZero looks to solidify what's already been an incredibly impressive half, with one more round potentially going their way. Pretty passive start here from the OXG roster, as you would kind of expect. Only 30 seconds in, of course, so it's not like we would expect anyone to be starting with map control this early on. It's still very much about the info game, as a couple players are going to work to get themselves on Repel and begin applying pressure primarily to Cigar, but a couple other areas need to begin getting poked at here as well. Like you'll see Ash down over on that window, but it'll be short-lived as she'll jump back up, being played by Bio currently, and rejoin the rest of the team at the hatches here.
Well, more drones now for Oxygen as they're attempting to clear out Christmas. So much intel gathering for them, and it's working out extremely well. They now know Eclipse is playing inside of Pixel, but hey, there it goes. Twitch drone paying off, and that's really all you needed in order for that to work out well. I mean, now they've already gotten rid of the shield, all the ADSs are gone, and look at the timer. They've forced Eclipse back, but now the issue is he still has this bathroom set up, and that's the fallback plan here for DarkZero. Now, laxing out of drones, don't necessarily know if he still has one. Actually, he does. We ended up seeing that pop there for just a second. So Laxing still has one, but Foxay no longer has life, as Eclipse is still begging to swing these angles.
I'm continuing to tick down here. Eclipse continuing to be an issue from his current position on the inside of the bathroom here, but nonetheless, Oxygen at least able to get quite a few of their players down the hatches and into a staging ground on the actual 3rd floor. That's the beginning, and almost a winning swing right there from Hot and Cold. Might still have the opportunity to frag out from it, but will need to swing a bit more aggressively if he wants to peek into someone from OXG. Skies, keep in mind, only 2 shots left on that M590 right now, so needs to be very careful with his trigger placement, or trigger control more than anything else here. This is one.
This guy's an absolute madman.
Yeah.
Apologies there for just a second, but he's just keeps swinging everything with that shotty. It works out, though. Low mag, low rounds, but doesn't matter. Sky's making it work, and DarkZero making it work overall, and we're going to get to see that. That's got to be a highlight play right here from Mint. Hell of a flank, something that we haven't seen any DarkZero member commit to this entire game. But at the very last second, they make sure to just sneak it in. And that's something that you always have to expect with DarkZero. You got to expect that unexpected play style. They are looking so good going into this offensive half.
Not only does it close out the round, but if that was a mid-round situation, it would have saved Sky's life, too. He only had one shotgun shot left and was going to have to flip over to his secondary to try to get the other one there. He was stuck in a bad position, but even he making good effort out of that really awkward spot he had put himself in with regards to the ammo, and finding quite a bit of success for DarkZero as they run 5 rounds on their defensive half. Now only need just 2, one more than OXG got, and they will claim control over map number 1, potentially in a very quick fashion if things end up going their way at the start here.
Yeah, even with the technical difficulties that we ended up having, this still feels like a very, very fast map. You know, I mean, 5-1 right now, but obviously Oxygen going onto the defensive side. The only thing is now, though, DarkZero have opened up this playbook so very wide on the offense. We're gonna need quite some time to unpack this. So we've got Lion dedicated here with an operator that we don't see too often and so with him anymore, Dokkaebi, being picked up from Skies, and this is gonna change up a lot of things. They don't have Zofia here, which, I mean, as we've all talked about, and even the devs talked about in their most recent blog post, these are 2 necessities for the offense. We see these 2 operators played over 90% of the time simply because of the soft destruction as well as their burn potential. So not having them changes up a lot of things. They've compensated for that, though, with the secondary utilities on Eclipse and Skies, both bringing stun grenades on those Lion and Dokkaebi. But the thing is, for Oxygen, this is going to change up how they have to play. We saw previously that they really like that in-your-face defensive style. You can't do that anymore. With Eclipse and Skies on the board, there's going to be so much intel for DarkZero to utilize that Oxygen aren't going to be able to run amok like they're used to doing, and it gets even more difficult when you count Mint in there on that Jackal.
Well, Foxay will be found out on White Stairs. Probably not any usable intel with him getting found out there, so he's probably going to have a pretty mellow reaction to it. Skies is still over here by the Pillar's door, however, so he may be able to move in and make something work from that, but he's also busy with his own droning duties right now. You'll see the same thing that can be said right now of Hyper too, as he's moved into trains and is trying to get info for himself. Foxy's gonna be able to steal a drone away, but pretty sure gets shot out almost immediately. Foxy's got other things to worry about right now too, because he's Jackal tracked, he's got an E1D charge. This is not a fun round if you're a member of Oxygen, especially if you're one who has to move. Oxygen, Foxy finally getting caught as he moves up the stairs there by Mint, but thankfully Bio is nearby, is able to bail out his teammate or at least get revenge there. But at the same time, Sky's also set up to make sure the advantage stays under DZ's control as he quickly finds that second pick onto Slash.
As one of the cheekiest angles I have seen in quite some time. That is actually looking directly at the door that Skies was about to attempt to walk through, but either way, that's more than likely a death if you commit towards reading door. But if you're an Oxygen member right now, as you said, you're playing the longest game of freeze tag possible. Dokkaebi and everybody else on the board, and that's going to make it to where, like we were talking about before, you're not really going to be able to move. So Oxygen actually able to fight back somewhat, still have a decent man count, currently at 3, but not too much denial here. Really only on board with Vert and Bio. Laxlane more than likely just going to stick to his guns since he has that Alda in hand.
Icing as well, still trying to gather info from that tiny little pixel angle he has on the downstairs door from the other side here. Flash is quickly coming in from the windows as DarkZero tries to throw more aggression towards Cocktail. Bio immediately expects a hop in on the balcony, and he's right to potentially assume so, as we have a player sitting right outside of that position. Hyper tries to swing on the Alda. He'll actually trade with Laxing as both players go down. Eclipse's pick leaves only one remaining for OXG, and it's going to be Bio, who also gets dispatched by Hot and Cold, giving DZ one out of the 2 rounds that they need to seal the deal on map number 1.
You know how they make like NyQuil flu plus cough?
Yes.
That's DarkZero setup for Oxygen.
Okay.
Like it's just like it's like NyQuil, you know, cough plus flu plus, you know, breathing, I guess, because Oxygen. So I mean, that this setup is everything that Oxygen hates about Rainbow Six Siege. I'm telling you this right now. There is absolutely no way that this is enjoyable to play into, and that is exactly what DarkZero want. And that might be the best part about it, is that this entire lineup is just meant to be rage-inducing towards Oxygen. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most effective. But if you're able to tilt a single member on Oxygen, that is a win in itself, especially with, you know, the crushing defeat that they might just be, you know, held to them. I really, it's on a silver platter right now, John. They're just waiting for the server to come to the table.
I mean, if that's the case, right? Where's the Blackbeard? But that's
hey, you got me there.
But yeah, this is going to be a timeout here for the folks on OXG. A much needed one, if only a little bit too late, to be unfortunately honest with you here, as it's at 1-6. A similar situation has already been put before OXG previously, and they now need to make it happen again. 5 rounds in a row need to be won by them at this point if they have a hope of winning this map.
I'm sorry, I was laughing at you saying unfortunately you had to be honest. That was fantastic. Like poor Oxygen right now, but I honestly think that they can battle back. Just the thing is that with DarkZero, they have game plans for all of these teams, and it's obviously very difficult to predict. It's not that Oxygen, you know, don't have brains or don't have a backup staff. Their staff is great. Hopes and Redeemer are both very well-calculated human beings when it comes to the game of Rainbow Six Siege. Redeemer, one of the greatest players to ever touch the game inside of North America. It's not like, you know, there's a bunch of people that just don't know how to do anything playing this game. This simply is DarkZero game planning better than Oxygen right now. They've shut them down on every single front. I don't even know if Oxygen has a leg to stand on at this point. The one round that they did end up getting was on that kitchen offense, but as we saw, the kills were very few and far between for DarkZero, and they came so quickly for Oxygen. DarkZero didn't have a chance to try and battle back or equal man count, so that's why that round slipped through the cracks for them.
All right, so we have that VIP setup being set up now by the folks on OXG, as they are absolutely going to use the offsite presence in order to try and look for victory. I would expect, based on the way that DZ was playing it, that we're probably going to see a little bit of second floor play too here from Oxygen, but in the past, I think they've usually stuck to just holding their first floor. This game's a bit different for them, and like Stokes was saying earlier, they were having success against their previous opponents by getting a tad more aggressive, so that may be why they commit a bit more heavily to it. But from the looks of things, it does appear as that most players are going to stick around down on the first floor, and they're just going to let DarkZero have the rest of the map. Vert's going to be the only exception to that, as they'll try to find a quick pick on the second.
But even that then is going to present more issues, right? Because DarkZero is already game planned for their game plan. They've adjusted. We have so much soft destruction now, but they still keep the Lion. Hot and Cold going to be dedicated to the Ace. That's exactly what we'd expect. DarkZero keeping the Lion, though. That's the thing that I wanted to talk about. Eclipse still on that Lion, and this is the thing that's going to change up how this entire round is going to work. DarkZero wants to apply vertical pressure and then force Oxygen to sit still so they can get these extremely pivotal frags that it's going to allow them to plant.
A lot of time ticking away right now as DarkZero continues to try to straggle for information for themselves. That default cam will get taken out, giving away the presence of the sledge, having moved down to the second floor. Hyper doing some similar investigations. It does appear as though the Mozzie being played by Vertical fell back a long time ago, as he is nowhere near this situation, and this was where he was positioned a couple seconds ago. So away from that, now a lot of the top-down destruction being done. They honestly don't have a huge amount of time for this, but it should be enough to be able to set up the angles they need and then eventually begin working that. And if they can get lucky, if they can find someone from OXG through these angles and successfully take them down, that's even better. But if not, the intel will suffice well enough. Just not a lot being found right now by DarkZero, and the time is still continuing to tick against them.
Well, they still have plenty of drones to try and make something work here. I mean, they need some intel to move this train ahead. The problem is that they're starting to stagger out, but now it seems as though they want to get aggressive. First EU1D out, but surely not the last, as Eclipse still does have one in the pocket. Oxygen now getting pressured inside of Whiskey, but Laxing still allowed to exist for the time being. Gets rid of a drone. Concussion's in now, but it's a quick trade between the two teams down to a 4v4 as Laxing switched positions. He's sitting right outside the lobby door, ready for the swing, but Hyper gets damage from Whiskey Bar instead. Lots of pressure here from DarkZero. Mint with a nice frag, but with very minimal time remaining. These frags need to happen now for DZ. Slash and Bio, the only two remaining members here for Oxygen, as DarkZero's trying to close out Cafe. They need this case plant desperately. Bio still inside of Bunker. That Alda fully loaded and ready for Bear, but it's down to Slash to hold things down. He has case control. He has yet another down. He needs some assistance, but does he really? He doesn't. He shuts them all down. It's the AUG to the rescue for Oxygen in round 8.
A great hold by Slash, which saves the team and secures them an incredibly important round. That was a 2v4, I'm pretty sure, at its worst point right there. And they're still able to maintain control of the situation because the case goes onto the ground and they have no choice but to try and run over Slash's position to get it. They were so great, DZ was, I should say, up until that pivotal moment where they needed to take down Slash. It didn't seem like his position was going to be a major obstacle after the first player had gone down, just a matter of getting a nice shot lined up. But unlike the previous entries, which had been found into VIP, they couldn't find it against him, and Slash is able to single-handedly shuttle that down with a bit of support from his teammates waiting in the wings if it was needed. 2-6 is now the scoreline. OXG begins their crawl back from the deficit.
Ice in his veins on that one, baby. He didn't even move positions. He just let him have it. Like, yeah, that was some crazy stuff there from Oxygen. So DarkZero now back to the drawing board. But as you said, they found a lot of early round success there. So I don't necessarily think that they need to change things up too drastically. They're going to stick to the same operator lineup, though. Sky's still going to be on the sledge. Everything else dedicated exactly where it was the last time. Leave it where you lay it. That's the style for DarkZero right now. They don't think they need to change too much. And honestly, I am inclined to agree. I think that this, operator lineup definitely bodes well going into what they have to deal with. Lots of shields here for Oxygen on the lineup. Warden coming into play, just trying to exist a touch longer in those very drastic moments inside of the round when utilities flying around. Slash will be allowed to take more gunfights than any other operator simply because of his goggles. So DarkZero are going to have to be concerned about that. If they don't get early intel, there's a lot of plays that can be had from Slash's position.
In the overall scope of things, DarkZero overall don't need to be too worried just yet. Still working with a 4-round advantage over OXG, even with that last round just getting dropped. So like I said many times already, that one single round is all they need to get themselves past this map and into a 1-0 leading position on their opponent's map pick, I should mention. This is the pick from OXG, so they drop that one. They're going to be in an even worse position, potentially heading over to Consulate, which is our currently scheduled second map. DarkZero focusing pretty heavily on the drone work, as you might kind of expect at this point in the round. We're still pretty early days with under 1 minute having been used from the total timer. Now, what the drones are going to be able to find, that's pretty important, as they do need to isolate out Foxay's position, vertical spot, and Freezer, as well as Slash's play from over here on the inside of Cocktail. It all needs to be dealt with before they can focus on the site.
Yeah, and there was a lot of it as well. DarkZero's going to need to get a read on this, but as we were talking about before, this is going to be up to Slash for the most part on contesting this bar area. It seems as though they do have a crossfire set up from Freezer, but not nearly as deep as what we saw from DZ. Lion out, but Vert quick to the trigger as he takes down Eclipse. You thought it was Foxay, but everyone's going to be wrong on that prediction. Oxygen still existing upstairs, delaying so much time, especially already halfway through this round, and with such a dedicated setup, not only upstairs but downstairs with these Banshees, you have to wonder how DarkZero is going to try and fight through this. Their main operator that they're using to try and get these picks is now down. It's all down to drone intel and stun grenades to try and burn through all these ADSs.
Hyper really hoping someone decides to swing onto the balcony for an info check, but it's not more than likely going to happen. Slash has soft destruction to play off of. He's got a top-down angle that he can use to check out what's going on below him, too. So this dream from Hyper is just not going to happen. He needs to give it up, and he needs to reposition, which thankfully for the folks on DarkZero, he's now done, and is going to be contributing, I think, to the 90 push. Meanwhile, the site players not concerned at all. It does look like DarkZero are going to try and, for the most part, just ignore the setup upstairs, try to contain it at a minimum from trying to do anything such as a run out here. But away from that, they're not actually going to actively try and hunt these players down because they just don't have the time to. 30 seconds remaining. They need to start looking for an opportunity to plant, and everywhere looks sketchy, unfortunately, for DZ. So where is this going to come from? There's smokes. That's the key thing. On top of those two very big kills from Mint and Skies. Skies gets a second. A wild swing swing from inside the library from Bio, though, trades out Mint and brings us down into a 2v3. 13 seconds are remaining. They need to drop in. They need to start this plant now. Houghton begins the attempt. Bio's been dropped. Foxe is all that remains to try and stop this, and he cannot stop the plant. So now it's a retake. Sneaks up towards the library here, trying to go for the 1v3. He'll make a wild dash over to the inside of the closet, but doesn't expect Houghton to still be on top of the diffuser. So DarkZero will shut it down in the clutch before even a kill can be claimed. And with that, DarkZero close out map number 1.
What a cafe from DarkZero over.